actually have to dress professionally.
Oh, I thought David was dressing up for the show. Dapper David.
Yeah.
Rocking this maroon, scarlet, I don't know, schwanky post-Oscars shirt.
I guess we're all wearing collared tees today, so I feel like this is a bougie pod.
Yeah.
Oh,
Next week
might
I'll
be.
come with
By the
a
way, I
shirt
hit
and tie.
record because I'm trying to capture the gold as it happens. Welcome back. It's another Binge-Watchers podcast. Johnny Spoiler's here. Got Dangerous Dave, or we'll call him Dapper Dave for today. And Jordan Savage. So savage, she can review a movie without having seen it. I'll spoil a movie if I love it, and David will drop these dangerous facts about tonight's movie of the week. Let's see, what's going on? I don't know. The Oscars happened. Last year I said awards don't matter. Movie awards, shows, whatever, they're kind of irrelevant. They were for at least maybe a decade. And of course, the most historical thing happened at the Oscars in the last 10 years was the Will Smith slap, right? Heard around the world. Smacking a comedian, the famous comedian Chris Rock, and then Chris Rock just got him back in a Netflix special. He just poked fun at Will Smith for 15 minutes. Other than that, the Oscars, pretty much irrelevant. However, Oscar 2023 highlights are here. Huy Quan was short round in the second Indiana Jones movie. He guided Indiana Jones through a jungle as a kid, like his first movie is like a Spielberg movie. He's also Data in the Goonies. He's one of the Goonies for Life kids in the Goonies movie from the 80s. And then, dude really doesn't work for 30 years. And he said in his speech that he's ready to give up on acting. And then here's what happens. He's I kind of paraphrased his speech. He said, dreams are worth fighting for. I was ready to give up on mine. You got to keep your dreams alive. He doesn't have a part for 30 years, gets a supporting role in this virtual sci-fi weird comedy drama thing. It feels fairly independent. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. But last night, Huy Quan takes home Best Supporting Actor. What a comeback story! And then his other buddy from Encino Man. I mean, they were co-stars in Encino Man. Brendan Fraser wins for Best Actor for his performance in The Whale. What's amazing about this is again, I'm ready to write off the awards and I don't really care. But hearing two comeback stories in the same year from two friends who have been acting together, since the 90s or whatever, and probably two of the most deserving people this year because they played it humble. They thanked everybody they had to thank, and they just seemed like they were keeping their nose on the grindstone, really putting in the work, Yeah. So those are the kinds of you want that to be every year. However, Jordan asked me before she started, should I watch the ceremony? No, you shouldn't have because it was boring. Dave was right. I was trying to be hopeful halfway through. Dave texted me oh man, it's a rough watch. I'm like, yeah, but I'm just waiting to see if my man Brendan Fraser is going to take it home.
Well, the thing that sucked is.
Go ahead.
Sorry, good. Well, I was going to say the thing that sucked is this was one of the best awards in terms of the right people getting the award, but with the worst presentation. It was just there was almost no humor. Even the monologue at the beginning was I don't think I laughed at it. Well,
it's kind of like Oscars on lockdown, right? Because last year was so outrageous and so controversial. They're this year it's everything's kind of watered down, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm sure they have to choose quality over theatrics, especially after last year. So
some of the jokes weren't hitting. Some of the jokes just weren't working out. But
you're that wasn't funny.
But shocking surprise! I didn't know that Jamie Lee Curtis has never been nominated before, and then she snags one first nom. She gets Best Supporting Actress.
I thought she was nominated for A Fish Called Wanda back in the day.
Dude, that's what I thought. I thought she's been nominated 2 or 3 times just based on her experience and the types of movies she's in, but I guess not, man. But anyway, she rocked it. She took it home again for that same movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a weird movie. I mean, David's already mentioned on the show Hot Dog Fingers and that they jump through dimensions. I watched part of it, to be honest with you. I don't like any of this year's movies. I still haven't watched The Whale because, listen, man, if you have a dramatic life, you don't really watch too many dramatic movies. You tend to take a break from the drama and watch things like a Godzilla movie or maybe Halloween. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is in a bunch of horror movies. Maybe you watch The Fog or something. But it's pretty cool that she won. I haven't seen all of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean,
Everything Quan, Everywhere
doing a good job.
They're
all doing a great job. Michelle Yeoh wins, right? First Asian actress in history to win Best Actress. Cool, man. And then the writers get the Writers Award. They also directed it. They're called the Daniels collectively. They win. Cool, man. I'm glad. I'm happy for everybody in this little movie that they're in, but it's not my cup of tea, man. Although I did you see Jonathan? There's this actor, and he's a good actor. He's just in trash movies lately. Jonathan Majors, right? He's in like one of my favorite new westerns, Harder They Fall or whatever. And he also plays Kang in the MCU. But did you see his face, Dave, when Everything Everywhere All at Once won for like Best Picture? It kind of looked like, I mean, you never know what somebody's thinking. It's obviously your imagination to try to guess what the actors are thinking when the camera cuts to them awkwardly. You know what I mean? Like the camera catches like half of a application of their facial expressions or something, and so you think like, oh, why is he so mad? And he's like, actually, no, I wasn't mad at all. I was just like trying not to sneeze at the wrong time. You know what I mean? Something like that. But he looked like he suddenly realized he was in the wrong multiversal science fiction movie. You know what I mean? Like he's a villain in the Marvel films right now, and he looked like, oh, actually, I should have been in this indie darling movie because it just rocked every category. And maybe if I was in the cast, I would have won an award tonight. You know, or he was an Angela Bassett fan, and he's like, oh, she got robbed, for that award for Wakanda 2.
I mean, I'm sorry, I love Angela Bassett, but it wasn't earned. She didn't need it for that movie. She'll have another better movie down the line and get nominated and probably win, but this was not it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it was kind of cool that you didn't mention the RRR song winning, which has to be some kind of record because I don't think a foreign song is one, or let alone an Indian song.
Yeah, but those are all the secondary categories that like I'm just wading through. And to be fair, they might be somebody's favorite categories, but they're never mine. Like I'm just waiting for like the 4 good ones, And
I mean, it'll give you that. I mean, that's only cool because that movie could have easily won a best foreign movie or international movie. If it was actually nominated.
I was happy that they toned down the politics. I think Drag Show Storytime was only mentioned once, and I think that was like the most political message.
Well, there was like some jabs at Tom Cruise and Scientology, but
I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, that was in the monologue. I can't remember the joke because
to be fair, I was also installing a washer and dryer because I think did I mention a dryer fryer on this podcast?
I think so.
Welcome to the Dryer Fire podcast. No. Yeah, I had a dryer blow up on me, so I was kind of like Oscars were coming in through one ear and the other ear was paying attention to try to get the connection set up right? It's just a consuming project. Not fun. Lost 4 days of my life. Ordered some Clearly Canadian waters, though. Well deserved. I don't know if you guys know Clearly Canadian.
No.
Holy crap. Anyway, if you're digging through my social media at like midnight, you'll find a video of me like, rocking out to Dragon Ball Z while drinking Clearly Canadian Orchid Peach. Anyway, what's Clearly Canadian? It's a popular Canadian seltzer water from the 90s. I was talking to my brother, like, it was like one of our favorite beverages. That and like Squeeze It Kool-Aid. Remember the Kool-Aid jammers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Jordan, we're not that old, but you might be too young for the jammers. I'm not sure.
Whatever. I feel like an old. I threw out my back yesterday.
Oh, no.
Not doing anything fun? Not doing anything worth throwing it back out for?
No, just like picking up hangers and it's season up. Like it's
I'm gonna say sneezing.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I'm an old.
I've been fortunate enough to like escape that one. I haven't thrown out my back yet. Yeah.
Oh, Dave, back's the worst, man. Anyway, where are we? What else is going on? Yeah, that's the Oscar highlights. I don't think I missed anything worth mentioning. But overall, I would say like the movies are not that powerful. Like they're not like I'm. You know what? I am very happy that Ashton Butler did not win for his portrayal of Elvis. I will say that. I'd have been total bullshit on this podcast tonight if that had happened. A totally different attitude, and it would have been like it'd have been a bummer all night.
There was a strong chance though for a minute. I honestly thought there was a chance he could have gotten it just because of the generation of voters that would have loved that movie.
Gen Z doesn't vote, David. I wonder how many actually Academy members are. It's probably a boomer organization. I don't know.
But that's the generation that I was sure going to give it to him because like if you talk to anybody over 55, they love that movie.
All right. The movies are not
65
that great. Again, like it's a weak year for these movies, man.
I kind of disagree though because you haven't seen them all. Triangle of Sadness was great.
The only one I haven't seen is The Whale and the one you mentioned, RRR.
But have you seen Triangle of Sadness? Have you seen Women Talking?
Women Talking, I didn't even know it even existed until I saw.
So I mean, there's been some good movies.
I didn't recognize Sarah Polley won for writing this movie called Women Talking. I didn't recognize her. She played the hero in the Dawn of the Dead remake.
She was also in the movie Go, which is where I first saw her, and kind of.
She was in this little movie about like a kind of a beast dude, like a monster. What is the name of this movie?
Oh,
It's
I
an
know what you're
independent
talking.
British
I've
movie.
seen that cover in the video store for ages and never watched it.
It's called like Make Believe Pretend or something like.
It's gonna come to me like
Dang,
midway through the show.
Anyway, I digress. We're all over the place. Rein us in, Jordan. What's happening? All right. That was a fishing reel, if anybody caught that.
I know. I need to start like verbalizing my hand motions.
Yeah.
You know.
A play-by-play.
Yep.
There's gonna be a Room remake. This is pretty weird. So anyway, this guy named Tommy Wiseau, who's from like Eastern Europe. Nobody can confirm where he's from. They think he's a vampire. He financed his own movie. It's one of the worst movies in history. Has a cult following. People go to see it in movie. It's still playing in movie theaters like right now. I googled it. You can still go see it tonight if you wanted to. It's always playing in movie theaters. But I thought for sure by now he earned his money back. But now I read he spent $6 million and he's only earned like almost $5 million back. But I just think like it's probably going to end up outdoing Wizard of Oz in ticket sales. Like The Room's going to probably play till the end of time. And it's just really funny that Bob Odenkirk, who was just in Better Call Saul, he's going to do a remake where he plays Tommy's character in The Room.
Yeah, but I'm kind of curious of like how, from everything I'm seeing, like it's mostly shot on green screen and it's for like a charity. So I don't think it's like a high production. Like it's probably even less money than the original cost to make. From the looks of it, I don't even know if it's going to be the entire movie or select scenes. Like I said, from everything I've read, it's like a charity thing. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be presented or what, but I'm interested.
Now, the Flintstones was made before me and Dave existed. We just watched it on reruns.
It's like Bugs Bunny. It's always been in existence for us.
Where they replayed cartoons, folks. Jordan, do you know the Flintstones?
Duh. I'm such a Boomerang fan. Like, I love all the old school cartoons.
Yeah, that's a cool app. I don't even know if it exists anymore. They put all the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons on like this Boomerang channel that Cartoon Network used to do.
You still find most of that stuff on HBO Max too, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't
mean Max? That's the next. My next highlight was they're dropping HBO Home Box Office won't be a name anymore. They're gonna wipe it off the face of the earth pretty soon, and it's just gonna be called Max.
That's
like
wild.
Your Max Entertainment, your Max Discovery choices, whatever. But Bedrock's coming out. It's Elizabeth Banks who just did Cocaine Bear is gonna do an animated adult spinoff of the Flintstones, and it's like Pebbles is a grown-up. That's the daughter, right? Fred Flintstone, Wilma's daughter. And a boy. I don't know if Bam Bam will be her boyfriend in this version. Who knows? They'll probably rewriting everything. Who the hell knows?
So have they said whether it's going to be like adult, like Family Guy style, or is it just going to be like the same? Because Seth MacFarlane was supposed to do it a while ago.
Seth MacFarlane.
Stroke.
David Shirt is so hot. It stroked him out.
Yeah, he was supposed to do one years ago and it fell through. So like, I'm just kind of curious if they're going to go through and make it more adult or if it's going to be like the same kind of humor as the original.
You're going to have to call up Elizabeth Banks on that one, David.
All right. Well.
I don't know. You're asking me too many questions.
Be like eat Wheaties and just post on our
we're
Facebook.
just going
to. Oh, this blew my mind because I thought I knew everything. I mentioned Godzilla already, but I'll mention Gojira one more time. In the 1990s, there was a Godzilla TV show that had something like 250 mini episodes of Godzilla content about being on the Monster Island with all of his kaiju villains and Godzilla. I didn't know this existed, and then it just dropped for U.S. audiences on YouTube. There's a Godzilla TV show YouTube channel now. You can get all that stuff. And then I thought, I'm about to go down a kaiju rabbit hole and watch all these things and disappear for like a couple days. You know, but then I was like, the words kaiju and rabbit hole on my notes. I was just like staring at the words kaiju rabbit for a long time, going, there hasn't been a big, well, there's been one big bunny monster movie, I think.
Night of the Lepus.
Night of the whatever the scientific name is for bunnies, right?
Yeah.
Night of the Lepus or whatever. And I just thought like, yeah, a kaiju rabbit monster movie would be cool. Or even fighting Godzilla, a giant rabbit. Jordan, do you approve of this movie?
I would watch it. Yes.
Okay.
I feel like this is a premise only made up on this podcast, so I would totally watch it. But
okay, so if you got Bunjira or whatever you decide to call it, what would be its natural enemy? You know, like Godzilla has Mothra or any of those. What would be Banjira's?
Not to get political, but David, if you pay attention to the kaiju movies, the villains are humanity, climate change, and boomers.
All right, so then it's going to have a partner because Godzilla had Mothra and all those others. So
Mothra was on our side. Represented us.
I was just trying to get you to create another forest creature kaiju, but all right.
Some say they had a hookup, David. Who knows? That's a different show.
That's a whole nother movie.
Yeah, it's a different movie. That's a whole other movie altogether.
Gotta go behind the red curtains for that.
Yeah.
I guess like a giant bank failed. Sleep in, you miss it. No, SVP Bank or Silicon Valley's bank.
Yes.
All the computer guys, their bank. All the AI companies, their bank shut down. I don't know what's going on, but apparently they're saying it's like the biggest bank, one of the biggest banks in the country. I have no idea. Although I felt like, oh, that's bad. I saw Roku had like $1 billion in this bank, and I'm like, oh, no more Roku originals. Or like, I'm like, what does that mean for like the people building the TVs, So for the regular people, this might be crazy if they can't like, I don't know. But we're headed into Mad Max days. I mean, how much more evidence do you need, Dave? Are you ready, David?
No, I'm going to die fast.
I'm
going to be one of the guys on the end of the cars. I'm like, just whatever, man. I got no will to live in this society.
But David, you can ride around like what's his name, Jesse Eisenberg, and collect all the Twinkies that are left in the world.
I could, yeah.
There better be zombies, otherwise it's going to be real boring.
I mean, I don't know what I'm going to have to offer.
The world is going to end, and then it is boring. It's exactly what you think, David. You're just sitting there going like, "This is it." Like, I tuned in for this. Just a slow wind down. Tonight. Oh no, wait! I got to talk about the swimming app before we talk about tonight's movie. So, there's a Swimply app, and there's another app, and I don't forget. There's two apps that basically you just rent someone's pool. You swim in someone else's pool, David. I don't know who this app is for, and I don't know who the Airbnb people are that own the pools that you're swimming in, but I thought it was kind of scandalous. It's kind of scabby, right? To me, it is.
Please let me be clear. This is not a sponsor, right?
No, we're not. Now,
could you imagine? I'm like,
Binge-Watchers podcast brought to you by 10% off Swimmly. No.
So interesting. You can rent someone's pool.
Yeah, but in a way, isn't it like you're like renting somebody else's life for an afternoon?
I'm a little, that kind of scares me a little because I'm thinking of I know what people do in rented cars and in hotels.
Yes.
What the hell, what are they going to do in just the pool? Just the hot tub?
I don't want to know.
Yeah, is there a hot tub cleanup fee? I went on the app and it said that you can't, some of the pools are like, you can't drink here.
Well, then what's the point of a pool?
You're not going to, I wouldn't want anybody bringing animals to swim in a pool I own. That would be horrible. However, if you're having a pool party and you're not allowed to drink, what's the point? What's the point of using the app?
No point.
But I feel like there's a movie. I mean, there's that movie Parasite, right? That was a Best Picture winner a couple years ago. But the idea that swimming in somebody else's pool when you're uninvited, but this is like clicking the button on an app. This still feels like a dark Norwegian drama that could unfold in a movie, right? With dark intentions. It's like you're not just swimming in their pool. You're somehow just absorb, you're stewing in their stew, David.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, no, thank you.
You're like, no, thank you.
Unless it comes with a disinfectant tablet that's instant.
But you ever wonder who Airbnb is before you Airbnb in that hot tub?
This is, have you heard that new thing where it's fear unlocked? This is, you did that.
I just unlocked the fear, achievement accomplished.
Because I do get a lot of Airbnbs with hot tubs, and I'm sitting here bad mouthing, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know.
Holy crap. Okay, tonight's movie, a mysterious blonde woman kills one of a psychiatrist's patients and then goes after the high-class call girl who witnessed the murder. It's Brian De Palma's Dress to Kill. David, do you have facts about this movie?
I do.
Do you have facts about Brian De Palma? I don't know if our audience knows who that is. We haven't talked about De Palma
Sort
movies
of.
in
I
a
mean, it's
long
not
time.
Brian De Palma centric, but yeah, I got a few on him. So for those who don't know, Brian De Palma, he's kind of known. He has the notoriety of being called the Hitchcock ripoff. But if you watch a lot of interviews or even other scholars talk about him, they kind of see him as more as like taking the torch or continuing on with that kind of movie making and not just a strict ripoff. However, having said that, De Palma was inspired by Psycho for this movie because he wanted the idea of a big star that would die partway through and then they're done out of the movie. De Palma was actually married to Nancy Allen, the call girl in this movie, and the part was written for her. In fact,
see, now it breaks my heart. I'm a little jealous of that. I did not know she was married to the director.
Oh yeah. For a time.
Is now a time to tell you how obsessed with Nancy Allen I am, or should I wait?
I mean, she might come up in my favorite bits. I don't know.
I am also on board. So
she is adorable. She's got them cheeks. But speaking of the main star, that spoiler alert gets killed partway through. Her name was Angie Dickinson, and she was actually a big TV star at the time on a show called Policewoman. De Palma wanted her in the role, and she was not interested just because of the nudity in the movie. De Palma kept courting her, and finally agreed to say, "Hey, what if we got a body double?" In which she decided to do it, which went on to inspire one of his later movies called Body Double. This movie was actually notorious at the time. It went through several edits with the MPAA board to get an R rating. They kept wanting to make it X because of the excessive violence and nudity in the movie. In fact, the director's cut wasn't really seen until the 2001 DVD came out, so it was edited for a long, long time. Actually, speaking of edits, in 1982, somehow a broadcast version went out with one slip of an F-bomb. So, like, people watching regular TV just got a taste of that for a minute. And also, just
that's
again,
not what I thought you were going to say. Slipped out in a TV broadcast, David.
They were careful, except for one F-bomb. Speaking of De Palma, the kid character in the movie, the character's name is escaping me, but the actor's name is Keith Gordon.
You mean MacGyver?
Basically, little MacGyver.
So like Pete or Peter or something, because that's what they wanted.
You're right,
to
it is
name
Peter because he wanted to name a circuit after himself, and then he's
Mhm.
chuckling in his bedroom like,
it's like Inspector Gadget.
But that character was actually based off of a lot of real events in De Palma's life as a kid. He was a science whiz. He did actually make computers back in the 50s and 60s. I mean, what you would call computers then. And actually, the whole
like the director's writing his childhood into that character or something,
Yeah.
right? Like,
in fact,
as a teenager.
Yeah, in fact, the scene where he's sets up a camera that takes a shot every few
4
seconds,
seconds.
that was actually inspired because he actually spied on his dad who was cheating on his mom when he was a kid. So
Whoa,
there's
dude.
a little bit of real life.
Where's that movie?
That is The Fabelmans, if you saw that.
Oh, crap.
People will recognize that who saw it. But yeah, them's the facts.
Those were dangerous.
There's a lot. There's actually a lot. This is one of those times where I had to pare down because I actually watched my Criterion Blu-ray and saw all this stuff.
Nice work, Dave.
Oh, I think.
We'll be right back with the bits. The favorite bits. Do we have to explain what they are? Do you think people know what they are by now?
Wait, as in like we're gonna go somewhere and then we're gonna be back, or are we just back with the bits already?
No, we're gonna go somewhere and then we'll be back.
Okay, just
Favorite bits.
Maybe we just need to remind people who hit the skip button a few times. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers podcast.
Your enthusiasm. It's time, Jordan.
It's the bits. There was a lot of bits that were my favorite. One of them being that Angie Dickinson did just not do it for me in that beginning part of the movie. I was glad that her character had.
Why is it because she got VD? Is that it?
It was
I didn't know she was a
not
ginger,
because-
David.
It was not because the carpets did
Oh,
not
oh.
match the drapes.
Well,
No.
since you just said that, I'm going to add in another fact then. The body double actually had to dye her hair down there instead of like a merkin or a wig. So that is why it didn't exactly match perfectly, because she did a bad dye job.
That makes so much sense. And that is a dangerous detail, Dave.
is.
Yeah,
That is the
seriously,
kind of
you should have
facts-
just said that. Like you missed that whole
That was it.
opportunity
The
earlier.
only fact. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know about this movie.
Yeah, no, just I would say the sounds, the faces just did not do it for me at all. I would say that I was excited to find out that Nancy Allen was like, you know, the main girl of the movie. One of my favorite bits is when she's trying to escape the dangerous woman and she's in the taxi and they're like trying to evade them in the car and she ends up getting out and the taxi driver like opens up the door.
Oh, he's gonna get a free date out of it.
He was
Yeah.
smooth. So I don't know. It just made me laugh. And then I would say the very end of the movie when she's sitting down with Peter and they're at the dinner table and they're describing like, you know, getting, you know, whatever vaginoplasty.
I call that the
I don't know what
PSA
they
for the
Explaining
sex
the
job.
transition.
The
They're at a country
transition.
club luncheon, brunch, and
at
they're
the
being
country
overheard
club.
by the country club wives.
Were you watching the lady in the background the whole time?
And
Yeah.
Just
she
her
just
range of emotion doesn't say a word, and yet she just tells a whole story on her face.
Silent outrage.
and she is absolutely appalled by the things that she is witnessing or overhearing. That is definitely one of my favorite bits. I could go on. There was a couple of them during the movie, but that's to start. So Dave, what about you? What are your favorite bits?
I'm kind of like you. This is a hard one. This is probably my third or fourth time seeing this movie. It's becoming one of my favorite movies. But you know, the sequence in the elevator. I mean, it's kind of the big thing. But like the director Brian De Palma is actually, I don't know. I never say he's one of my favorite directors, but like each time I see his movies, I'm like, oh, I'm inspired to watch another one of his I haven't seen or go back and rewatch one. But like he's one of the best directors in that, like, he has at least 3 or 4 well thought out sequences in the movie. Like the rest of the movie could be standard direction, but like he's going to have 3 or 4 sequences that are just directed to a T. And then there's that elevator scene where just the close-ups are perfect. The music, I don't think there's split screens that need you to pay attention.
Straight edge
to
razors have never been scarier.
Yeah. I mean, and
really
it makes you
like it's going to cut through anything.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of like making me afraid to like go into an elevator sometimes because you're like, what's waiting around that corner? You know, like I said, there's a few scenes like that, and then I will say, because again, I was watching it with the mind of he was inspired by Psycho, and even when I got to the end, if you remember the movie Psycho, there's the end of the movie is basically one long speech explaining his psychosis and all this, and this movie does that too. But it's smart enough to give you one last scare, which I won't necessarily ruin it for anybody. But like this movie was smart enough to not end on a boring dialogue or a boring monologue. It says, "Okay, we're going to give you what you paid for. We're going to give you one last thrill before you leave You've eaten your popcorn. Go throw it out."
I'll spoil it, David. I'll spoil it right now.
Well, then you're Johnny Spoiler.
The movie opens with a shower scene that's a dream, and the movie almost ends with a shower scene that also turns out to be a dream. But I thought De Palma was going to have the courage. I thought he was going to end the movie with Nancy Allen's character. She's dead. Credits roll. I've seen different versions of this movie because I think I've seen like heavily edited versions.
You've probably seen that. I've only seen the unrated version because I've only seen it on DVD since it came out.
Well, the movie for me starts with the encounter at the elevator. Like that's on TV. That's usually where the movie starts. I don't remember any of the shower stuff in the beginning. So I've never seen
that makes sense if it was a TV
until I watched
version.
it this time, and then I had to text Jordan like, "Oh, hey, Jordan, there's like muffs in like the first 5 minutes, so
poorly bleached
with your family
muffs.
eating popcorn. You know,
don't watch this on the treadmill.
Yeah, it's a non-treadmill workout.
Yeah, this is not a treadmill.
And then the end, I don't remember any of that, but it's weird that the movie takes like interstitials. It pauses to tell you the PSA about the gender reassignment that Jordan was talking about. That's also my favorite bit. Like the movie stops, the plot stops to have the brunch that explains the plot devices, and then the movie continues. It's very weird. like interrupts the movie to tell you this information and then continue.
It is weird, but it's only really weird when you look at a lens of 2023. You got to remember this came out in 1980, where that stuff was not the norm.
Like the movie had to tell you what the movie's about because maybe you've never heard anything. You're like, what do you mean? The guy's confused, and so he's hacking people up with a razor through the streets of New York because he wants to be a woman or whatever. Yeah. How do you get a license as a doctor while also being the patient of another doctor? But that scene's great too. Like the doctor's like, I'm so confused. You are, what's her name? Like Bessie or Jessie? What was the girl's alter ego name? Do you remember?
Oh, was it
Bobby?
Margot?
Bobby,
No,
there it is. So he's like, oh yeah, we can talk to Bobby, and he's looking at him. Well, we're gonna talk to her together. Oh sure, yeah, we can talk to her together. You want to say like how hard it would be to not just say like, dude, you are Bobby. You're already talking to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, man. The one thing I don't buy is like the female police officer who just pops up, saves the day, kind of. But she's like an Italian actress. She's in some other movie that Brian De Palma likes. I don't think she speaks English. And I think that's why her character says nothing. But
has zero lines. Yeah,
she's there. Yeah, exactly. They're just to save.
She's just there smiling in the background.
There's another.
She is the murderer.
Yeah, there you go. But then there's another. Yeah, because she looks just like the killer too. That's the other thing too. It's like you don't know where it's gonna go with De Palma. Like if you watch this movie about Phantom of the Opera, you don't know.
Oh, Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know where this dude's gonna go. But then they stop with the detectives, who's by the way, Dennis Franz, who's like in 260 episodes of NYPD Blue. He's a TV actor, but he's also in this movie called, he's in the American version of City of Angels, where he plays an angel that becomes a human again to start a family. So he's really great in that movie. But he's in here wearing his disco shirt.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is like coked out 70s.
Yeah, exactly. He can't be bothered to solve the crime of the murders because he's got to get to the disco and dance the night away. You know what I mean? Like,
I did like his character though. Yeah, when he was like, "Oh, I was too busy at the blah blah blah." Yeah,
like literally. But then again, the movie stops again, so he can deliver how it was all my plan this whole time. Well, I set the whole thing up.
Like so, wait. It feels like a serious version of the end of Dumb and Dumber. Like, well, what if they shot me in the face? That was a risk I was willing to take. Like, it's just that kind of thing.
Yeah. I before the show, I also told Jordan I can't really read my notes, which is really funny. Like I have like scribble all over my prep notes for tonight. Well, whatever. We'll just bounce into ratings. We usually say binge now, binge later, or binge never. We'll go through our normal rotation. We'll see how we rate this movie, Dressed to Kill. Safe to say, Jordan, is this your first Brian De Palma movie?
I think so. Yeah. Yes.
I bet you've seen Mission Impossible, right? The first one.
No.
Oh,
probably not.
And this maybe.
Yeah.
That's
probably his most commercial movie, David. That's like his most commercial movie, probably.
Well, that's what I was just trying to say. That might be the one because that'd be most anybody.
Right. Binge now. It was great. I had even more fun talking about it with you guys. So binge now for sure. What about you, Dave?
It's definitely binge now. Like I said, I've seen it. This is probably third or fourth time I've seen it. It's a great movie. I mean, and yes, he gets the comparison to Hitchcock, and it's not unfair. I mean, he's as good. I mean, honestly, I'm no expert on Hitchcock, but I'd rather watch a Brian De Palma movie over a Hitchcock any day.
He didn't do that much Hitchcock rips off in this movie. I didn't get the Hitchcock vibe in this movie.
I didn't either.
I mean, if watch Psycho again, like the end scene, well, the second to last scene is almost exactly like Psycho. There's other, we can have that discussion another time.
What about the De Palma move? He didn't rip that off from Hitchcock, did he? In the sanitarium where he assaults the nurse to steal her dress. And he
no, I mean, I'm not saying every beat for beat is Hitchcock, but like anybody will tell you like he'll say he's a student of Hitchcock. Like he took those ideas to another level. So
I don't know. This is hard to say because I have a soft spot for De Palma, even though De Palma is like other people's like they don't like De Palma, but they like who's that horror movie guy that you like? Stuart, whatever his name is.
Stuart Gordon.
Yeah, a lot of people love Stuart Gordon.
They're in way different leagues. I mean, and I like Stuart Gordon.
I like De Palma. I don't like Gordon. So it's kind of like give or take, It's like Elvis and Beatles.
I mean, I'd still say I like De Palma way more than Gordon, but they're almost incomparable.
Well, if I say I like De Palma more than I like Hitchcock, people are probably going to stop listening to my podcast about movies. But
I mean, Hitchcock's fine, but like I said, if you tell me to watch Dressed to Kill or Psycho again, I'm gonna watch Dressed to Kill.
yeah, it's a lot more fun. Nancy Allen. I got a huge crush on her. Like I would probably melt. I don't think I can handle myself around like Nancy Allen.
All right,
I try to be professional, but I don't think I can handle it. I've seen Big Chill. Have you ever seen that? She's like a down to earth friend, businesswoman, but she misses having a child, so she tries to arrange having like a surrogate situation with her friends during the big weekend where they go back to deal with their friend who just died. And saw her on that. Saw her in RoboCop. Obviously, she's like the partner of RoboCop. And then this movie, and forget it, it's over with.
She's also in 2 other really good De Palma movies because like he was her girl for a while. She was also in Carrie as one of the mean girls, and then she was also in Blowout. Which, if I'll tell you this, Jordan, if you really like this movie, go check out Blowout next. That's like in line with this. Different story, but
she
just
still
as
pops
good.
up in some movies. I don't know what she's got to be in her 60s now, but she still pops up in movies.
Honestly, I mean, I've seen some of the recent interviews, and even with like, I mean, she's letting it go gray, and she's still cute. I mean, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't say it as one of my favorite bits because I
Silver
didn't
Queen, David,
like a perv, but like,
I think it's what you call
her in that lingerie,
Silver Fox, right? Silver Queen.
Silver Fox is a good-looking older man with gray hair. So, what is the equivalent to a lady?
Closest I can think is Silver Queen.
Snow Leopard.
Oh, I like
Silver Leopard. Wow. Yeah, this podcast is about Nancy Allen.
Yeah.
Wait, did you rate it, Dave?
Yeah, I said
Binge
now. In fact, I don't think you gave a
Is it my
rating?
Turn?
Yeah.
See, I'm discombobulated. See what happens, Nancy Allen? It's a binge now, but again, like the movie to me has no shower scenes and no like, because I've only seen it on television until now. Like
that's wild. I hadn't, and this is the only version I've seen, and yet you've seen all these others.
I've only seen the version where she gets chased through the streets by a dude wearing a girl mask, and then like, oh my gosh, it's the doctor, and he's lost his mind. You know what I mean? Also, it's my first Michael Caine movie. I didn't know who he was. This is the first movie I saw him, and I didn't know he was a famous British actor. Nothing.
Right.
And then like Jaws 4, plays the boyfriend of the mom. So still, I'm only seeing his B movie stuff. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know he's like this well accomplished, accredited actor, from England. We do have some fan service. I forgot to put it in the notes, but I'll just read. I think it's in our message board, so I think I can easily retrieve it, hopefully. My friend Ernie was chiming in because I guess he listens, but he doesn't always hammer back at us. But then he was leaving a comment for Dave, and he also dropped a bunch of comments. Last week's episode, I don't remember. I guess we were talking about aliens. We were talking about this movie called The Mountain. Okay, so this is from our fan Rennie. He says, yeah, UFOs do exist, as do aliens. He said, he thinks that 4-year-olds should be lobotomized. I guess he's making a joke about, having to parent young children or being around maniac 2-year-olds. I don't know. Says he used to work with Jeff Goldblum's current wife before she was the wife. Doesn't go into details about that. So he just drops the celebrity's name, but he doesn't go into much more details about that. He's making a joke about the NyQuil because I said I was on the NyQuil drip because I was sick last week. NyQuil is one ingredient away from meth. What's the missing ingredient? Asking for a friend. So it's pretty funny. If you read the comments in context, they're pretty funny. So we hit him back. Yeah, Independence Day movie would be a survival blueprint to deal with aliens. Didn't expect a lobotomy fan joke. That's funny. I asked him. He hasn't responded yet, but I want to know what Jeff Goldblum's wife says about Jeff Goldblum's hands. What does she say about the motions? And I said, we can't give you the missing ingredient because YouTube is going to censor it. There's no way. Can't tell you NyQuil plus what.
Got to PM that.
Say.
I mean, if booger is a no-go, then...
He said, for you, Dave, he has so many comments, but when he's listening, he's usually driving, and he can't take notes unless he remembers which comment goes with which episode for which movie, right? Because he binge listens to the Binge-Watchers.
So it all blurs.
But have you seen, he wanted to know if you specifically have seen Remo Williams.
I think that's on my list. I got sidetracked into Oscarland for a month and a half. So now the door's wide open. I might, maybe next week, who knows, between now and next week, maybe I'll have watched it. I don't know. We'll see.
That's a Fred Ward movie where he plays like a secret agent. Is that what it is?
Basically. But speaking of, like, I think he wasn't on the Memoriam, which is BS. Was he on there? Did you see him? Oscar.
They missed a lot of people.
I know.
Paul Trevino. They missed. Who else did they miss? Well, Ray Liotta was in there. They missed another big one, but I can't. Who did they miss?
Paul Sorvino was the other big one that's been going.
There's another
around.
one, and it's slipping my mind. Dang it.
Huh. I mean, I know they have the thing like, hey, go do the website.
Obviously, not everybody can be included, and they want to include some more obscure stars, not just the big listers, because they feel the whole thing's morbid, though. That's why we don't have any more a celebrity death tracker on the show, because we would just every week have to talk about generational actors that are dead. You know what I mean? We spend 10 minutes every episode at the top of the hour, like either depressing our audience or boring them to death without celebrity deaths. Anyway. Staff picks. Does anybody have any recommendations outside of the movie of the week that they want to drop on the audience?
I did some March Madness, if you will. You know, I am crazy for some true crime, so I watched the Murdoch Murders docu-series on Netflix. That was super good. Of course, I obviously knew that the trial was going on, but I didn't know very many details, and so just
that's the weird timing,
again.
Right? So the show drops, but like it drops days before the conclusion, so the show must end with like a question mark, right? Because they don't know the conclusion.
Well, the conclusion is obviously in the case, right? Like they have made a verdict, but they kind of talk about that at the end, or at least note that like there is an ongoing case and that he's going to be, tried for the murder of his wife and son, which he was convicted of those crimes. So I think he serves like 2 life sentences. And it's just wild to like listen to these people like lie so much on like police recording and just the amount of like affluence and like delusion that they can get from having privilege, I guess. So it's really worth a watch.
He's like the grandson of some lawmaking family that goes back like several generations in the
law spans over a century. I think it was like established in the early 1900s. And he essentially is a part of this big law firm that his like great grandfather had helped establish, which he gets kicked out of because they find out that he was like misappropriating money. So he was like winning these cases and then keeping the money instead of paying out the victims. And you find out that there's more than just 2 bodies like surrounding the family, because there's like a wrongful death, and then there's 2 murders, but then they like go backwards and talk about a couple of other deaths that had happened, and it was very much worth a watch. So I hope that there's more justice to come down the line. So
it's probably gonna be like Making a Murderer or the Tiger King, where like, hey, new stuff. All right, season 2.
I'm game. Yeah.
You know what's funny, Jordan, is like at this point, like I'm actually counting on, for the sake of making good shows, that you haven't seen something, right? It's like I'm leaning into that joke so hard, and I hope. Oh well, you're a good sport. Generally, Jordan goes along with it.
I'm the novice. I'm the novice movie watcher. I like love that. I hop on here and talk about my opinion. So
But because of that, we have an opportunity to play this game that wouldn't have existed if it was just me and Dave.
My favorite.
It's movie roulette. So I pitch a movie, kind of like a sideways. It's not a very straightforward like Hollywood movie teaser. But I tell her the plots, and then she gets to decide which one she thinks we should watch. So here's movie roulette for next week's movie.
Cryptic synopsis is what they are.
Cryptic synopsis?
Okay. Cryptic.
Oh, cryptic?
Yes.
I thought you said ripticks.
No.
All right.
Cryptics. Okay, whatever.
It's more unique, but okay. Here's a cryptic synopsis. Freudian slip, guys. Freudian slips.
That sounds like a way to say I'm gonna get ripped dick drunk tonight.
Are you, David?
Am I?
All right.
Got some burgers in the fridge.
It's just starting. That's kind of crappy to say. It's Monday and we're like, hard week already. One day, yeah. Okay. Back to movie roulette. Sorry. Okay. Mr. Wall Street. There's 2 choices, Jordan. Here's the first one. Mr. Wall Street gets a gun in an accident and thinks he owns the world. Meanwhile, he's trying to ruin the life of a young Jamie Lee Curtis. That's the first movie. Second movie. Business dude Nick Cage hits the club, gets vulnerable with the strange lady. He gets bitten, thinks he's a vampire, and takes it out on his assistant.
Number 2.
Wow. Because the word
Sold.
vampire or the word Nick Cage?
Both.
Oh my gosh. Dave, you're in, huh?
Wise choice. I mean, I was interested in the other movie too, but this is amazing.
The
Can
other
we
movie,
get
if
both the
anybody's
titles?
wondering, before she won an Oscar, Jamie Lee Curtis is one of her first movies. It's called Blue Steel. It's Catherine Bigelow's first feature film. She made Near Dark. She also made Zero Dark 30. She likes the word dark. She makes dark dramas. This is like an action movie straight up. A young police officer, a gun gets dropped. She has to shoot a guy at a robbery, and the robber drops his gun, and then this Wall Street broker is like fascinated by the gun, takes it, and then he starts killing people. And then he's taunting Jamie Lee Curtis the whole movie, right? At one point he's like dating her, kills her friend. It's definitely on theme for this month's movies, which is like the real March Madness, which is like movies with crazy elements or crazy people. However, we're going to finish this series with Vampire's Kiss from 1988, where Nick Cage thinks he's turning into a vampire. He also has also a Wall Street type job, I think. They're kind of similar in that way.
He does.
Don't give too many details.
Oh my gosh. I
You
guess
gotta
I'm cut off. Because I didn't know you were going to do that. That's hilarious.
I'm just saying, what's the point of going through a detailed synopsis if
Yeah.
we're going to watch it?
Yeah. It makes sense.
And they got to listen to next week's episode.
For sure.